Okay. Welcome back, guys. Sorry, our meeting went a little bit long. I'm not gonna lie. We were cooking and it cooked too long, man. My brain hurts. But I'm back from the meeting. I'm good to go. I heard the TFT PB for set 10 is out, and I'm excited to play. There's only one problem. I'm currently in a queue. Let me go bring up the problem real quick. This is the problem. I'm currently 110,000 in queue with an approximate wait time of 16 minutes. It updates like every 5 minutes. And so, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. So yeah, we're just in queue. Anyways, how have you guys been doing today? How has the set looked? Okay. I'm curious because I've seen a couple people are already online, and yeah. How's the meeting? Oh, I mean, it was chill. We were kind of deciding who Toast should gaslight this week. You know how it is. He said everyone. The raid clip. Oh, I heard about the raid. Wait, I gotta go look at it. What was this clip? What was the clip? What was the clip? This one, right?
Your 4 and 5 cost champions gain attack speed for every 1 cost and 2 cost champion on your board.
Wait, hold on. Okay. Well, first of all, I like how this stuff looks. The thing is really cool. Champions are holding on game have 35% to drop 1 gold to death. Oh, interesting. Blake say immediately sell your team and clean bench for double their value. Your next 4 shop rerolls are free. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Wait, what about this one? Immediately sell your whole team, including bench, for double their gold value.
That was so fun. That was so fun. High key fun.
Fuck it. Wait.
Waiting.
I went 9 out of 0 gold. Wait, I thought I had way more gold. What? Where'd it go?
Your 4 and 5 cost champions gain attack speed for every 1 cost and 2 cost champion on your board.
Your next 4 shop rerolls are free. Wait. Why can't he buy it?
Wait, what about this one? Immediately sell your...
Oh, are they... It's only the rerolls are free, not the actual shops. Oh. The wording is weird, okay? I would have done the exact same fucking thing. Thank God I'm not...
Your whole team, including
like
bench, for double their gold value.
That was so fun. That was so fun. High key fun.
Fuck it.
Wait, how much gold did he get? What the
your 4
fuck?
and 5 cost.
Oh my... So sell your team, including bench, for double their value. Let's say my average team at this point costs about 20 gold. You get 40 gold, and you sell your bench, which may be like another 10 gold.
Sell your whole team and double their gold value.
Is that good?
Wait.
I gotta read this chat.
Waiting.
I went 9 out of 0 gold. Wait, I thought I had way more gold. What? Where'd it go?
Your 4 and 5.
Oh. I'm at 34. Bro, guys, I'm not playing PB tonight, am I? At 14, your win streak flex item should be 30, 40 gold. Oh, interesting. I think it depends how much you roll on stage 3. Or stage 3-5. All right, fuck it. We're back to Lives of P, boys. Just call me a bug. One back for 12 months. Thanks for your subbing. You know what fucking sucks about this game? Or about this situation? Oh yeah, the old leveling intervals are back. Thank fucking God, bro. Thank fucking God. I hated those. Was that in 20 minutes? Well, we're gonna wait, okay? So I started my stream. Hold on, what's uptime? Uptime. 9 minutes, okay? I've been queued for 9 minutes, okay? So we'll see how long it takes. But how does the game feel? Like does it feel fun? I'm telling you, when I played set 9, I didn't feel like I quit the PvE in 2 days. I'm not even lying. It sounds amazing. Emily did not seem to be loving it. Oh, music is good. All right, guys. Oh, wait, it's boss time. Wait, you guys gonna see me own this boss. Hold up. Why do I have 1 health pot? What the fuck just happened? I don't have a grindstone. There's a 1 cost reroll come that's kind of broken. Oh, because I heard Yasuo gains AD or something. Is that what it means? Oh. Is it just a numbers thing? Like, would it be balanced if it was like half as good, or like? It feels like it's just a numbers thing, right? Like my dick. Oh, stop sucking it. Fuck. Why is he allowed to do this, man? He's a grab? I got bored. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Let me cook. Okay. So what do you think this guy does? Is he mainly slashing? Is he mainly like well, what do you I got a lot of like stuff to work with here, okay? Weight limit, damage, our carcass is pretty good. I have a little weight to go around. Wait, is green good or green bad? Green good. Oh shit, I'm heavy. Yeah, spaz G's, and that was really easy to get rid of that spaz. Oh, that's good. Okay, bitch. My first time at the rodeo, baby. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm bad. God damn! Shit! Am I fucking the best? Holy fuck! Put the fuck down. See, I'm telling you, with this sword, it's if you get the parries in, you look like a god. Like you're a fucking beast. But if you don't get it in, you're shit. Like you're fucking trash. Is there any extra loot this way? Maybe I should. So fast 8 is back. Oh, I've always fast 8'd. What do you mean? That's never stopped me. Well, agreed. I too am happy
So what's
things are
happening
back.
now? Let's get back to the hotel and our friends.
Hotel Krat, the greatest luxury you ever experienced. Oh, we're back to the hotel. So the hotel got invaded. For people who don't know about Liza P, the hotel is your home base, your home turf. And something happened to the hotel, and you gotta go back and save it. I'm looking around for loot just in case, because it feels like this is closer toward the end of the game. Yeah, I'm starting to realize this ability does so much damage. Like the only downside of it is the range is a little bit short. Hypocrite. What the fuck? What happened?
You're alive. I was worried because I didn't hear from you. The stalkers have.
This isn't set 10?
Geppetto.
Okay, let's go take a look.
It was the fox, the cat.
95,000
and the
people
Black
left.
Rabbit Brotherhood. But really, first, go to the second. Antonia might know a secret.
Okay. Floor first? Well, let me go check it out. Yeah, Hetty off the TV, you got me? Thank you, man. Do not find your login to your right one? Nope. I will figure out the name. It'll hit me like a dream. I did not go upstairs first, but... Oh wait, can I play music as I'm traversing the... Oh, I can. I love this emote. Yeah, it's cute. I wasn't sold on it the first time I added it, but I thought it was cute. So I was like, yeah, sure, just add it. I've been liking it.
Come to me. Feel alright.
Who's there? I'll never open this door. You might as well give up.
No, it's me.
Oh, it's you. Is it safe out there? Give me a sec. Okay.
You really believe me? Is you Jenny the girl who repairs my weapon?
I'm sorry, child. Geppetto has been
Yep.
kidnapped.
Bro, I lost Geppetto?
I'm sorry, child.
Geppetto, the alchemists planned the whole thing. Oh, while we were hiding, I certainly didn't expect an attack on the hotel.
Wait, the entire time we knew there was an underground passageway to the hotel the alchemist had, and she didn't expect it.
My portrait. Behind it lies a passageway to their base. The hotel had an accommodation with the
She knows!
Play this chord on the piano in my room. Apparently, I must remain in this room. Be careful out there, won't you?
Yes, to remain in this room. Okay. You're right. I do like the safe zone did get attacked. I agree with that. By the way, I'm pretty sure this is broken. The more times I use my grindstone, the more I think to myself, wait, isn't the grindstone kind of OP? This is actually good. He's ready, green squad. Oh shit, she's playing? Wait, okay. Is this not OP? The special effect grinder increase? It's like the only one I would ever take. I feel like the grinder is actually pretty good. But I would need to get 2 grind. I would need to respec my tree, I think. Like, I don't want to respect my tree. It's fine. This is the best song in the game. When we charge Legion, it might be a quick wish stone use because it's the only way I can actually use it. They might try set 10 PBE. Yeah, man. I would. It's so fun trying set 10 PBE. Wow. Awesome. Super awesome. It's gotta be this. What is the weapon durability reduction of dodge attacks? Oh, like when I auto with dash, and that's not really common, right?
Nocturnement réconforte, je t'attends seul dans le noir, je t'attends depuis trop longtemps, je peux t'entendre dans mon cœur, un murmure de ma propre confession, le moment de te rencontrer maintenant. Écoute mon cœur, où es-tu maintenant? Il s'agit d'attendre toute ma vie. N'entends-tu pas?
Okay. What are the 5th ones? What are the 5th ones? I get another Legion arm? What the fuck? Wait, the 5th ones kind of suck. I'm kind of just got. These are actually so good. What is a cube? Oh, it's a special item that you can use that I should. It's like one of those things that I wish wasn't in the game, like straight up.
Soon, but being the true light, he showed me that I knew it. It might be whatever choice you make. I shall.
Un ciel brille.
Fair window might be useful. Maybe. I have to use the thing, right? Anger. I'm fucking stupid. Sorry, it's this. Oh, wait. There's a robot I go to in a certain place, which I can get stuff from, right? Am I crazy?
It was a plan more than anything. No matter what fate served you. Welcome to...
I need like a full moonstone, right? Yeah, I have one full moonstone.
You're here. It's good to be. You came in. Alidoro. What if he doesn't? I just want. That's
wait,
why
Alidoro is gone?
You are here.
Oh, I need 2 full moonstones. Holy fuck. Exit show, welcome back for 31 months. Monthly reminder, you're a great person to go streamer. Thank you so much, man.
Surely there... You have my... Do look after.
Just want you step with me, dance with me, you and me feel alright. I feel good on you.
All right, guys, we're into the last part of the game, I think. We're at the part where I have to go to Alchemist Island, which I think in theory should be the last part of the game. So I'm about 80% of the way through, I would say, right? 1.5 the last part. Okay, fair. God, you get so many dark moonstones. I remember before I was worried about not having enough. Now I have too much.
Who would have guessed all this was beneath the hotel? Wait, is this the relic of Trismegistus? You know, it's the strangest feeling.
Okay, Trismegistus.
I've been here before. Maybe I haven't gotten all my memories back after all. I don't know exactly what's going on, but
full moonstone
was dragged away from here. We have to follow. Hurry.
Wait, a full moonstone. I need one more. My bad. Shit, my bad. I stepped on the fucking trap and I got hit with fireball. Okay, hold on. Before I do anything, let me go switch this to like carcasses. I think I like having either ergo or yeah, I like having this. When you have really low health, if that amulet's worth a lot to me. Game love traps. I mean, just like recently it's just all about traps, man. I'm down to chill on the bullshit, man. A little bit. Hold on. Let there be light. Oh, that also looks like a trap. Oh, that also looks like a trap. Oh, I wonder. I was told there's one destructible door in this entire game, which is hilarious. One more moon. Oh, an amulet. What the hell? Iron wall. Increases physical reduction rate. That sounds pretty interesting. It's like a random number though. I don't know how good it is. Is that here? I used to compare. Nah, I'm working on it now. First, imagine having a weapon this late in the game. Holy moly. I got one shot by a pitchfork mob. Otherwise, it's known as trash. Oh yeah. I will say though, my build actually worked itself out. I'm underground, but I see a butterfly. I haven't gotten matters in another world. Oh no, it's a lot of butterflies. I ended up having enough technique or whatever to oh, what the fuck? Or enough weight limit reduction to wear 4 amulets pretty comfortably and still be under to get good regen, which is awesome. And then now have the maximum endurance to do multiple things. Oh! Okay, okay. Don't fuck this up.
Another fine day in the city of Krog, but I wonder, my friend, just where you've been?
You rhyme Krog with odd, that's great.
The king thinks this riddle might be quite a closer. It's all about seeing past the tip of your nose, sir. Observation. It's about observation. Just listen, kid. This one should be easy. You've seen enough of it. If your answer's wrong now, you're not going to love it. This blue flower has many ways to take root, but only on man does it ever bear fruit.
Ergo?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you get the charm behind these riddles.
I didn't even need to see the options to know it's Ergo.
What? You felt threatened? Well, sometimes it's good to trust your feelings. A metaphor is a tool for hiding horrifying truth. Now then, another question. Not a riddle, no rhymes. Just a question. For you. Ergo does not appear out of thin air, so where did
True.
all those puppets get all that? Ergo.
Is it their souls?
Yes! Always leave them laughing. That's what the king says. Till we meet again.
All right, really cool, because I already know the Trinity location. It was the last boss, right? Correct? So as soon as I find the next res point, I'm gonna go back to the Trinity. I almost fell into this trap and died as well. Holy fuck. It was just... Okay, I'm out, bitch. Oh, just a star fragment. It's a boss? No way. Oh shit, it's hella early here. All right, hold on. Let me get the items from this area, and then I'm gonna go Stargazer back. Let me get that one. I think I just jump to it. Jump to it. Yeah, I missed that one. All right, 22 minutes away, 60,000 people in queue still. Okay, let me go back to my hotel. Couple things I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna go use a trainee key and then dump all my fucking ergo into endurance here. I have a lot. And then a lot of pieces. You ready to find the Discord messages? Nope, never did.
Whatever choice.
All right, how much did I just get right there? Okay, I juiced it. Okay, now I use a Stargazer. I don't remember where this was. Okay, this is the one time. Guys, help me out. Where? Oh, never mind. The game told. Wait, that's a different quest. What quest is this one? Oh, it's the thing lying down on the floor. Oh yeah. I'm looking for the last training room I just passed. Oh.
Hello, my only friend. Being angry for someone else's sake. I think it's. I hope I find someone. Hello, my only friend.
Yeah, I need to find the next Trinity room. Is it here? Let me think. The Trinity room it's one of these. Look, I did. Is it here? That's central. I think it's this. This? No, I did the Indiana Jones one. It's the next one. That's the really easy one. It was like right after a boss or something. It's the lobby. Yeah, the hard one was the one that was a fucking. Like, I had to go back and ask Chad to do it because I didn't remember. I just remember seeing it somewhere. Here? No. No. Here. Perfect. Remember that metal angel? We are simply on this journey that follows his footsteps. So the pickpocket was overconfident and gamble, had his heart stolen and died. Okay. Quartz me? It's the only thing I'm happy to see is quartz. Workshop master workwear. Oh, costume. Oh shit, it's this one. Okay, I don't really like this headpiece. I'm gonna get rid of it. What am I looking at? The white lady? The owl? I'll have to stick with the white lady. Okay, wait, I got an amulet. The wait a second. There's a +1 carrier? Holy fuck. Wait, is 50% under 50% good? Is it super light? Okay, it is regular, slightly heavy, then heavy. Oh, so wait, so then I can use another boss amulet. That's what you're saying. Wait, there's really no shortcut to this boss. This is bullshit. I have to literally run the whole thing. How do I get up there? How do I get down there? Wait, there's so much more stuff to explore. Wait, I have another phone call?
No one's ever danced longer, I promise, my friend. Will you stay with me too and face whatever is coming? For today's a new day, and we have to keep running. I knew that you would. Blind confessions reveal one's true guilt. True confessions of blood beings. This one's black and white. A no or a yes. Is Geppetto's creation a killer?
Oh, absolutely.
Bravo, fan. The spilling of blood. Don't be ashamed. Impending. Now stand up straight. I hope you enjoyed our time. Second fiddle.
The chosen one's sanity key? Wait, that means I got them all, right? I'm not ready for this boss. Oh. I'm worried because the lore said that there was a person for 3 people. And that worries me because I cannot do multi. I do not want to fight more than one unit. But we'll see. What? Wait. This run back sucks. Oh my god. They put a boss here? They fucking hate me. What? There's no way the run back is this far. Oh, it's a vampire. I fucking hate this game. I see 2 people. I see 3 people. This game fucking sucks. I see 4 potentially within the box. Oh.
Accept your fate. Death has come for you.
Oh no.
Big brother always looked out for me. I'm gonna smash you to pieces!
This looks easy.
Alright, demonstration time. Who wants to watch this guy break apart?
He missed! My sword's broken!
This is for my brother.
But your brother sucks ass. Yeah, he's right. You suck.
When we couldn't save our brother, that's when off
But these guys are fucking easy, by the way. But the phase 2 for this boss is gonna suck ass. Game looks good. Oh, you've never not played? It's a fucking sick ass game.
Big brother always looks out for me. I'm gonna smash you to pieces.
Off, man.
Big brother's gonna compliment me.
Anytime a couple of months ago, I'm a hectic in the TFT main now. It's great. Have you seen the new set? Which I cannot play. 26. I started 120,000 in queue. I'm still waiting, man. Alright, hold on. Okay. So let's get rid of this because this is fucking garbage. Let's do 2 humans, I think. I'm gonna just own this guy, and then I need. So what is this? Electric shock over delay over here. Okay, okay. I just need a lot of ampules. That's fine. I have it on 1. We're good. Okay, I'm gonna go. If we go get lucky, we probably, yeah, we gotta play. This is the one time we're on the same server. True. This is the longest run back in the game. Like, I just have to just reconsider my entire life or what? Like, as I'm running back? Like, what the fuck, man? Oh, that one behind me doesn't fuck me over, man. Jump off the cliff. I'm gonna just drop off the cliff. Fuck it. What part can I jump? I'm just gonna jump down and take some damage. I don't care. I'll take the fucking 1 ampule loss or 1 pulse cell loss. I did not want to do this run back, man. Or we can drop safely. Is it on the left side or right side, or there's stairs leading down? Wait a second. Wait. I'm the best. Also, I just saw the ledge, so I should never do this again. Oh, I need a.
Big brother always looked out for me. I'm gonna smash you to pieces.
Fuck off. Fuck off,
Even
man.
if we're just based by time, you're going down.
No, he has a puppet arm.
Alright, demonstration time. Who wants to watch this guy break apart?
You fucker. Wait, can I just select him there? Oh, I cannot. Oh, I cannot.
This is
Oh.
my brother. I'm gonna rip your heart out. Maybe when we couldn't save our brother, that's when our fate was sealed.
He's coming first. Who's coming first?
One for one brother, and a weapon for the other.
Oh my god. Okay. It's alright. It's okay. Yeah, I have fucking flattened there. I'm not gonna lie. I think the first part's pretty easy. What you need to do is you need to save your guns or your so that because what they do is they take 50% damage and then they fall back. And you have to, when they fall back, you just fucking, oh! Cougars. Poggy Poogers. Pog. Name is unavailable. Cougars. Set 10 world champion. Ow, it's so loud, man. The heck? Long queue times, bro. Well, I guess we're just gonna keep playing this. Wait, how long is the queue time right now, guys? Am I fucking stupid? 10 to 20 minutes? It's variable? Oh, okay. Okay, wait. I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna take... I don't think I take any of these. I literally have the best one. Yeah. Is there any way to get resistance to... Oh, I don't like corrosion. I want decay. Oh, the better decay one. Hell yeah. Holy fuck, these do so much.
Alright, demonstration time. Who wants to watch this guy break apart?
What the? Oh, it popped! I'm dead. I don't care. I do not care. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay. TFT. Wait. Let me play some ads here so it doesn't interrupt in the middle of the game. Ignore the first part of the game, guys. Does not fucking matter. I open up my music is closed. Okay. There's some bangers. Oh yeah. Take a look at EDM. You know, it's a fun trait more called the milk out in the rundown video for it. I mean, it's a one trick trait, right? Dude, I'm gonna be overwhelmed with information, and I will learn, and you will see how I process information. Hint, it's one step at a time. Am I stuck? Wait, I'm stuck. There's no circle at the bottom right. Oh no, that's top left. Oh, I'm fucking stupid. I forgot. It's top left. Top left. It's top left. Holy fuck, I'm fucking dumb. Oh, Shinshin. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome to the stream, guys. We are playing TFT set 10 PB for the first time ever. And literally 2 people are running on toasters. I swear to God. Since it's a musical set, my music is not playing, and I'm gonna leave the music for the game. Fuck. Ah! Okay, every time I click off, it just Alt F4s. But I want to do like window borderless. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. Hold on. Cool. Restart. Oh, these are really weak. Oh my God. Start with the 3 cost. Oh my God, that's so loud. What's the 3 cost? I got Jazz. Jazz? For each non-unit trait, unique trait. Wait. Is that good? But what the fuck does that mean? KDA. Okay. The big shot. Gated attack damage, which increases every 2 seconds when you use their ability. Okay. Okay, I got Disco Terror. But what is this? Is jazz? Can I get jazz? Is disco good? Cameras moved. Oh, standing line. Okay, that makes it easy. Country. Minigun gets 4% attack speed. I kind of want some country. I think we do better than Tarek. I think Tarek low roll. Will I get 8-bit? What the fuck is 8-bit? Heart Steel. ADA. Oh, I have 2 Heart Steel though. Isn't Heart Steel sick? I sold my 3 costs. Uh-oh. Units have at least 1500 gain. Oh, it's okay. And cyber, that's boring. That's boring. That's boring. Heart Steel. Wait. I'm missing a Heart Steel. Heart Steel Sentinel? I want Sentinel? Sentinel. Boom. Okay, what is Heart Steel? So I took a Heart Steel thing. I mean, Rage Blade can't be that. You count about auto caches after 4? Okay. The fuck? Rapid fire? Executioner? Fuck it. If Raidway is bad, then fuck it. Is this? Oh, okay. Okay, Sentinel is your team gets armor and oh, your whole team. And your front line gets double. Okay, that's cool. Alright, fuck it. I just slammed the Rage Blade, bro. I need a Heart Steel, please. Super fan? What's a Mosher? Mosher? Improve your headliner. Oh, cool. Okay, and then I pre-level for a chance. I just need Heart Steel. There's so many Heart Steels. Where's my Heart Steel? Oh, rapid fire. Jason's rapid fire. Shit, I forgot. Price 2. You can't attack speed. Oh shit, you're right. I misplayed. Camp 3 streaking. I can't go back to my boardwalk clicking because I didn't set up the hotkey. That's not good. Is that a heart steal? Bro, I need my fucking heart steal, man. What the fuck are you doing? Hessler? Fuck it, I'm dazzling. Oh, countries the horse. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, for Heartsteel, like this one sounds really good, right? Because you retain 20% of your stuff. Isn't that so good? Like once I get a Heartsteel, it'll be so good. Wait, it plays jazz. I don't even have jazz in. Wait, am I stupid? No, I am stupid. What the fuck is this is a guardian. Okay, I'll hold on to this. It's a pentacle edge. I don't think. What is a punk guardian? One for 50%, they shield themselves and their closest allies for a percentage of their health. Damn. Okay. Warmox is gonna be a good ass item to set, by the way. Really good fucking item. Guardian works with Guardian and works with the thing I'm using right now. It's gonna be so good. Warmog's good ass fucking item. Okay. Country. Oh, Heartsteel, 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 Heartsteel. What's a Mosher? Okay. He attacks me in Omnidev? Is that? Oh, Pentacle Sentinel. Need more Heartsteel. That's 3 2 damage. Fuck, I didn't put it in. I'm win streaking and I'm playing a fucking unit, man. I have 4 rapid fire? Do I want to play 4 rapid fire? Fuck it, give me 3 Heartsteals. Bro, I have Heartsteel, Heartthrobs. I don't have Heartsteel yet. Like that, there must be a mistake somewhere. Heartsteel. I mean, now I do. Fuck it. I want a pentakill. Mort! 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 Excuse me? I have items. My entire prismatic I only took because I. Oh my fucking god. That's bugged. Okay. Wait, this is more kind of OP. Gains health when he kills a unit, he gets stuff. That's great. We have the first time you have 50 gold in the combat, gain diamond hands. Oh, cool. With the first, it's just a free diamond hand is a prismatic. Oh my god. I mean, sometimes it's actually worth it though. Oh, Caitlyn! Wait, that looked insane! Wait, Caitlyn with just these items? Oh! Shouldn't you fast 8 for Bard at 4-3, bro? Bard? Who the what the fuck? No. Fuck me, man. Back to Jazz, baby. Wait, I'm trying to roll the 0 gold, by the way, guys, to fucking get a Heartsteel unit, but I haven't hit one yet. That bar the whole time, true. Okay. Okay. I mean, but look, the thing that goes here. when I transition this into 8 Heartsteel, you guys are gonna be fucking going crazy. I just need to know what is the Heartsteel. Wait, is it this one? He is a big shot. Who else is a fucking big shot? A big shot, and I have this. Shin. Big shot is. He did.
Time's over.
Ooh, wait. Who am I missing? The fuck? I'm missing some random ass dude, man. EMF is big shot. Shit, you right. Shit, I can fit Jazzy? Shit, you right. EMF is big shot. Okay, maybe I'll hold on to this. What the fuck? Oh, the Caitlyn ulti looks cool. She ultis multiple people? That's really cool. You not harvester? Oh, it's a tank item? Oh, I don't want to use it because I have the TG thing, so. I wish, but no. How come I play PvE like this? When I'm live, I save every single item and play for high roll. Do I have brain damage? I think I have a problem. What Heartsteel unit am I missing? Yo, I guess I can get 1 or 2. I guess I just roll. It's right here. What the fuck? Emo. Dude, what is emo? Is this a 1 cost unit? Is that the thing everyone's playing? That looks like the thing everyone's playing. Oh, Chi-Chi? Oh god, wait, that never seems so good. Wait, the Spat. Look at Spat build. They give me a Heartsteel? Oh hell yeah. Wait, Spats are OP. Wait, I'm literally last pick. There's no way I'm fucking getting that. Okay. I want this. Because I have lucky gloves, right? Is that also a Heartsteel? No. Oh, I got an item. Cool. Wait. I made a mistake. It's a hard steel unit? Fuck. There's no way, man. I made that mistake. Okay, hold on. Bruiser Disco? Okay. Okay. I mean, do I even want? I just want to keep rolling. What's the thing? It's 30% chance to get a 4 cost. Is that so much? I know it's on. It's better. The better on this, yeah. What's the effect? Oh, you get health permanently? Wow. I wish I wait 100% bonus. Oh, it tells you how much. I would have loved this unit like level 2. Disco. Oh shit, you get a movable ball. Yeah, these are the the worst hearts to cash out ever, man. Did I ever go 9? I think 2 feels. But that guy looks fucking awesome. Like hella cool. Do I sell this and try to play for high roll? Glove? No glove. Fuck me. The fuck just happened, man? Is this guy OP? What does this do? Shot 3 times, each healing, it heals based on, oh, sick, okay. Wait, I lost my heart steal. Wait, that doesn't seem right. Okay, let's just do this. What's EDM? Use the EDM selector sample EDM champion, see a frequency. You're transferred into sample and what the fuck does that even mean? What is this item? Is that what I slammed? On a 120 mana unit? I thought I slammed something else. With 3 bounces. You cast the ult before you choose. Oh, cool. Isn't this OP? Partial assumption. Heart Steel.
Shadows into the spotlight.
The fuck is this item? If you win player combat, it becomes a shout out. That's it. Oh. Wait, do you kind of want 3 edgelords? What's the 3rd edgelord? Oh, the 3rd edgelord is fucking. It's gonna be what is that? Dazzler? Jazz must be awesome. Jazz must be so OP. Dazzler must be awesome too. Is that on a hyper pop Dazzler? These guys just giving me Jazz? Bro, it's on the Jazz unit? Wow. It's for the MFN. Oh, hell yeah. Wait, I have 4 Jazz. Wait, can I just keep 3 Hearthstones for the rest of the game? Wait, that sounds pretty good. You're 3 hearts to the target. It's true. This guy's level 9. There's no way a Yasuo 3 beats me, right? Like, how strong is this unit, man? Why does that look like really fucking strong? Yo, look at the Lucian. He's popping. Where's my front line? Oh, that lobby's weak. Oh yeah, I know. Ooh. I feel like I can't play this. I don't have a fucking unit in. Holy shit, who can hold these items, man? What are these? Wait, but isn't MF better than... Oh my god. Damage? Copies an item, she permanently gains 5. Permanently gains damage? That seems OP. Bro, where the fuck are my... Oh, I got Edgelord Cane, not Heartsteel, which is fine because this means 2 of these just immediately gives you Edgelord. What is this? Shadow Assassin rewards extra 2 roster swords and extra health. Oh shit. It's fine. I got a fawn? What? Like, actually, what the fuck, man? Ross just gave me like 50 gold? Or oh my fucking god. Chad? Oh my god. Oh, I forgot I had to see that. Sure, that gives me frees up a lot of bench space for me. Holly, Heartsteel, Jin. I'm just missing Bruiser +1, which I actually kind of need. I'm gonna get rid of these 2, I think. My frontline is really bad. Well, maybe not. What does this guy do? Oh my god, he's level 10. Tamasher? Do you ever remove her jinx items for Ophelios? Yeah, probably. Like, how much damage is he doing? The Jin doesn't even show up on my fucking damage meter, bro. But to be fair, he is missing some items, so. Oh my god. I'm just owning. Move up Jin. Oh, does that work? Shojin Jin, it works? Oh. Ziggs 3. The fuck? What does this guy do? Throws a bomb. Oh, yeah, maybe I still win. Maybe it's okay. It splits up 50 times. He almost has, he's going for Soda 3, Alawi 3. Wait, but that's crazy that a 1-star reroll can get him here, by the way. He literally took, he went Yasuo and it just can go fast 10. Does that seem balanced? Fuck off. I was one off. Fuck, I could have sold board for it. It's not bad. Okay. Interesting set. Scarra V, welcome back for 6 months. I don't play some ads. I wish I had Heartsteel earlier. Like, that's the biggest problem. My Heartsteel was so fucking late, man. But like the fact that I can get a Fawn at stage 6, it's crazy. Like it's not even like at 3. Did I have 5 Heartsteel in? That's if I get a fucking unit, that's just good. Get more stuff from the later stages. Yeah, that seems a little overtuned. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I should get a Fawn when I got a Fawn there. But we'll see. It's fine. I'm down to literally just whenever I get to force that shit. Yeah, 400 plus hearts for the Fawn. I guess it's maybe true. Honestly, I 18 win streak that game and placed second to a guy who one cost rerolled and then hit 10 faster than me. like when I think about it like that, like I had no combat augments. He like fuck, it's fine. He's allowing to be streaming probably like a little bit more. About Jack's Moshers, bro, I've played one total game. I don't even know what Moshers do. It does look like Jax is a pretty good splash. I think you could pretty much always fit in some of the jazz stuff. It's essentially gives you a valid silver augment's worth of power, maybe a little bit more. Jin was cool, but I should have switched items. 100%. He definitely is a character that looks like he needs like blue buff, or he needs like, I don't know, just more damage. Gold augment last? That's kind of weird. What is this? Your team gains bonus attack speed and move speed? Wait, is that bad? Is everyone getting attack speed and move speed bad? Okay. Is that disco? 2 disco balls. Oh, what did we get? What did we get? Unit accelerator? Disco? Oh, that's 8-bit. I'm fucking stupid. Okay, my bad.
For beauty.
I have 4 Yasuos, man. So what do I play on this unit, guys?
No cure for fools.
Let's get to the fun part. Let's do it.
Heighten's BT. No way Titans is the right item for this if he gains infinite AD. I want to see if I can QSS. Oh my god, I got QSS. Okay.
Easy on the eyes. Don't I?
Wait, I don't know what to build now. BT? It's gotta be IE at some point, right? I want to set Joe Gauntlet right here.
Music brings us to life. That's worth fighting.
True damage champions deal bonus true damage and holding an item. They gain a unique bling bonus for their ability. Bling bonuses go. What are bling bonuses? Did their strikes execute people? Oh, they execute people. Interesting. Okay, okay. I'm just trying to read the ability and trying to figure out. IE for sure is 100% BIS on a thing that scales AD to infinity. Okay, and no doubt in my mind, I probably just go more lifesteal. The attack speed kind of sucks ass. Says bling bonus. Mine's mana.
Let's get to the fun part.
Okay, real talk. Am I not the best positioned Yasuo player? Yeah, I went freaking flyer with a Yasuo too. Okay. He has edgelord though. I mean, do I want edgelord? I probably do, right? I at least need 3 edgelord. Do I just go full true damage then? Yone. Well, I think it's going to be impossible to get this. So what else? What other items do I want? Last Whisperer? Edge? I doubt I can itemize Edge. Wait, Edge seems pretty okay though. Oh, you get Super Fan. Holy fuck. Wait, Super Fan? He gets a completed item? Wait, that kind of sucks ass. But the Omni Vamp is kind of good. Okay. Wait, do I just play? What's Bling passive again? They go platinum? What does that even mean? I feel like the scaling for this trade is not good. The bonus on top of execute? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, also it's probably hard to play 8 true damage when you need 2 fawns, right? Are 2 people playing Jin? Huh, interesting. I have a fawn, or I have a duplicator.
Show me who you are. I alone decide my fate.
What's my last item? I guess it can just be Titans. It's not terrible, I guess. Superfan, I don't know if it's worth it. Hyper pop. Okay, that's not good. What? Do I disco? Why am I holding on to these? What's the point of me holding on to these? Okay. Is my Yasuo have? I don't know. Let me go check. Oh my god, he has a nice shrine. Wait, isn't Stairs kind of awesome? He has 50% already? Wow. That's not cheap or cheating. Yep. No, that's completely balanced. I'm trying to think if Sterix is better than Titans. Fuck, I think Bramble might be better than fucking Titans, man. Stradia, 5 super fans. Oh shit. I actually need that one. I said the Titans hater, it's just not that good. Like they can't, I don't think it can be that good.
Wait, hold up. We getting paid for this?
Like, look at his scale. Like, just look at his scaling. Like, literally, just look at it. 20% AP scaling. You get AD naturally. So the AD scaling is shit for you. So like the real thing is like, why do people build Titans on this character? Better resist? Get better resist with just stone plate? Yeah, I feel like Edge is better, and the other items are better as well. 30% AD, it scales. I mean, Steric's okay. I'm just saying, I'm probably not gonna run. I probably don't want to run Super Fan. I'm probably gonna toss the shit out. Even though you can play it, I don't think it's worth it. It is temporary until you find your third item. Like, I know shit would rather build a Bramble on this unit, man. 490 Yasuo game. I'm at pretty high. I mean, it's definitely QSS, but it's not QSS because I have this. So I have 4 items, which is why it gets really interesting. Music kind of slaps though. I want 3 edgelords. I think that's super important. Okay, not these. I'm gonna fucking slam a Bramble on this unit. I'm probably never gonna. Oh, it's an edgelord. Oh. Fuck. I need to take out true damage. My bad. I did not know Pentakill was an edgelord. I'm probably gonna end with Edge of Night. Okay, I want to end with Bramble, man. How's the set so far? I played 1 game, and to be honest, I played it. This is another game, but this is bullshit. I'm just gonna go 10 and then win the game off the 3-star 5 cost this game. I'm pretty sure. Oh my god. With the amount of AD this unit has, doesn't it give me like a lot? Oh, 20%? Wasn't it 22%? I mean, this game's over. I have reached the summit. I'm on 11 win streak. I'm going fast 10 into 5-star legendary. Okay, lady. Plus 50, 51. Holy shit. Oh, edgelord. Oh, this is a good edgelord. The kill? Like the super fan's kind of nice though. Am I cringe? Thank God I'm on an account no one knows the name of. No one in this lobby knows it's me. Or else people might judge me. Do I go? I might just go. I'm just going 10, right? I hit level 9, get 50 gold, and I hit level 10. Did I mess up? I messed up. There was something I messed up at. Oh, it's not 50 gold, it's 50 experience? Wait, I just ruined my goal. I could have hit 9 or 10 at fucking next level. Oh my god, I just gave away 5 fucking gold. Whatever, man. His Yasuo is at 118%, by the way. Oh, gets a medal in there? Okay. Realistically, you're never playing more than 3 Heartsteel, right? Or 3 Edgelord, right? I'm dropping super fans. Spellweaver Sentinel. This is like a very unfair build. This guy is playing Heartsteel reroll. It doesn't even have a Philius 3 and it's streaky. What the fuck? I go 5 Edgelord. I think Edgelord sucks. That's why. The units don't look good. Like the bonus is 15% more attack speed on your main unit. But like, okay, there's one unit that's a good Edgelord. And then that's it. Kane Yone and you play divers, I think. Crowd control, I think. This. See something cool? Yeah, what's up? What do you got for me? Oh, true damage of Ollie. It's sad that I can't take this out. So what happens if... Oh, wait, headliner... Wait, it's 4 and not 5. Wait, that's actually... Wait, maybe it's worth play for super fans. Actually, this is a free gold augment on your fucking unit.
No cure for fools.
What trick 6 true damage? Yeah, but I can't buy this Akali, which is kind of like, oh. Buy this. True damage. I buy this. Is this true damage? He has third crowd diver, right? Well, that 2 is fine. And Sona. And what did these? Let me. Wait, hold on. Then there's a Akali. Akali. Oh wait, which Akali? The true damage one. Yeah. Wait, are there 2 Akalis in the game, or is it dependent at the very beginning of the game, or base?
No cure for fools.
In the game? Oh. Either? Okay. Probably what a little bit of mana. Okay, that guy took the only management item I had. I need down for the Akali. Is it a true damage one? Fuck, it's a KDA one. Fuck me, man. Oh wait, his change is based on. Oh, perfect. This is Arthas. Need emblem. I need the E too. Oh, you need one.
No cure for fools.
So yeah, I'm level 10. I only roll, right?
We are not one soul. We are many.
Make you famous.
As far as this, and then I play Nico.
Youth and skill every time.
Be level 10 when the entire board of 1 cost should be illegal? No, it's definitely fair.
Hear that? It is the end.
Chi-Chi's in, and I sell 1 because I can't go 10. Sure.
Fine. Let's do this.
As rapid
Come at me.
What is? Do I have pentakill? Can I put it in? I'm tossing this garbage and probably this garbage too.
Hear
fuck is going on, man? Yeah, he's doing hard steel reroll. Actually, he has 3 virtues? Oh my god. I think if my comp was balanced at all, I would lose, but it's not. 2 1-star rerolls are number 1 and number 2. Is that a little bad? Jax Annie, oh, thank you so much for donating. What is that name? What the fuck? GG, yeah, okay. No one knew it was me this game. I'm never playing this comp again. I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna play some ads. You feel good yourself? No, I don't. But I might sleep better than my opponents. Kiana steals items like set 6 hits. Really? One second, I have to answer some stuff. I'll play some ads already. Double complete carousel, multi-talented. Headliner grant another +1? Okay, what's the fucking best vertical in the game? Hard steel. That sounds sexy. This one's nuts. Jazz. Oh. Wait, country's a reroll comp. Oh, wait, that's so weird. Wait, country sounds awesome though.
Mercy has no flavor.
Wait. Oh, like this. That's not what I thought it was. That is not what I thought it was. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm selling this for playing fucking disco, baby. We're fucking discoing today. Disco Dazzler. Am I gonna get a better one than this? That seems unlikely. Wait, it's Vietnamese time? Holy fuck, you're right. What's your... Oh, she has 20 AP. That's kind of lame. This was so bad. This is really good. That's just so good. Disco? Fuck me, man. Okay, no lie, isn't this a high roll? Isn't this a giga high roll? What's Disco's forecast? Is it this? Yeah. Is TF also a mage? Anyone know? The Dazzler. The fuck is a Dazzler?
Easy on the eyes. Don't I?
Cruel Pack lost. Holy fuck. Wait, is for TF, does he need mana gen? Can I put adaptive on him? How good is he with adaptive? He's gotta be pretty good, right? Yeah? Yeah? Oh, it's ASTF. Oh. Oh. Lame. Wait, so what's my disco ball do? It heals every 4 seconds. Wait, I'm not gonna lie, isn't this a super high, or what is this? Oh, determined investor. This is terrible to take at 2-1. Never take this at 2-1, guys. Oh, unless you have like a 1-item opener. That seems just god off. Wait, Disco seems kind of awesome. So then you have a Sentinel and a Guardian. Okay, and a Spellweaver and a Bruiser. Wait, that's so good. You can like combine with everything. Cover this unit. You can't combine with this unit. Wait a sec. Guys, what do you think this guy's playing? What do you think this guy's playing, guys? With 6 Yasuos. Any idea? Is it Disco for rerolls? I don't know. Is Disco for rerolls? Pack player is lost again. Oh my god. Idiot Demon Slayer, huh? Wait, it's so OP because this stupid Disco heals my stationary support. Like, it's so good, man. I have pentakill. Oh. Wait, it's a bruiser? Oh, anything that you can get to the bruiser must be OP as hell. You get it so early, it's so good. He's a pentakill, is a punk mosher. Not me. Fighting this guy, actually. New recruit. Wait, do I lose this? And then I realize, nah. Disco don't lose. Except for to Yasuo. Like, the comp is kind of crazy. Well, Disco's so interesting because I can splash everything. It's one piece of every front line. So you can always drop down, you know? It's a sentinel. It has a sentinel, it has a guardian, it has a brawler. It also has a dazzler, like that. It has literally like half of everything, man. Bro, where the fuck is my... Like, my damage doesn't fucking exist in this game. I mean, I guess I'm making Sunfire here, or am I making Morellos? I can just do... Does TF scale off of AP at all? Any knowers? Anyone fucking know?
Easy on the eyes. Don't I know it?
Should be. I mean, I need more damage in this comp, I'm pretty sure. AP attack speed, okay. Well, this guy's full pack. He did not die after he lost. He lost twice and now he lost once. Now he's capped. Oh, this Viego unit is kind of annoying, man. Oh. I think he won 1-1. Not today seems okay, but I don't like it. Infusion? Is it that bad? Guys, how bad could infusion be? Why did I have this unit in here? I thought it was a guardian the whole time. He sold his board. I see. Okay, so do I play 4 Dazzler? I probably just play Bard. I actually play Bard. Wait, what's a 3-cost Dazzler? What is that fucking unit? I'm like, look at the mini map. Okay, I'm not, I've hit so many Terrics, I feel bad. Lux? Is Lux good? Puts my wig red. Fuck, my bad. Dude, this is cringe. Who would ever do this, man? Hey, maybe I'm the cringe one. Wait a second. Wait, I'm the cringe one. Okay, my bad. Oh, Dazzler? Any Dazzlers? Oh, there's Jack. I mean, I can always do Jack. Emo, tacticians. Bro, what are you leaving me with? Let's play a Lulu carry game. Yeah, Disco don't die, baby. Disco never dies.
I've got a good feeling about this.
Not a Spellweaver? Oh, I need 3 Spellweavers. What the heck? Oh, hell yeah, baby. We get some hyper pop in there. With the music kind of banging though. If I can get Rage Blade here, that'd be really optimal. But this said, visual clarity is non-existent. I don't think that's true. I think this is one of their more visually clear sets. Usually, I'm the first person to complain about visual clarity. It's not. I don't think that's a problem with this set. I think they're very distinct. Oh, it's EDM. Yeah. Blitz and Gragas look the same. Not even close. What? Yeah, not even fucking close, man. I actually think you want to play a lot of hyper pop. If I can keep this Spellweaver in, it's probably pretty good. I end with hyper because infusion means when they cast, I go crazy, right? And it is a super fan guardian. It's just a guardian, honestly. This is the 5-cost hyper pop set. Yeah, I know. I know you're always at top in Winsig, but this is so interesting. I think you hold on to this. I can see the top end comp, but the weird thing, and you just don't play Jack. I don't think you need it. Oh man, is this the best I could build? Don't I need attack speed for this comp? I was just Guardian. Emo is. Oh, interesting. Emo's kind of interesting. Oh, this guy rerolled. Jinx reroll. Punk reroll. Interesting. Yep, I'll Punk him one. Wow. Okay. Can you keep it? The Sentinel Spellweaver? The fuck? How the else do you get Spellweaver? What? I mean, I guess, but then what's my other Sentinel? Fucking nothing, right? Nah, I think he used this. Wait, why did you give me gold? Oh, he gives me gold. Interesting. I mean, we're just sacking this and going fast 8. Probably 4-5. I saw this. This guy has pentakill metalhead, immune to character for personal summon. They heal 5%. Oh my god. What about this guy? Blink out and Omniband. And he has a true damage stat. So you go 8 true damage. I mean, that guy wins lobby. Oh, this guy has last stand. The fuck? Oh, he's level 9. Wait, is he living though? All right, I just level here, go all the way down. I want bow here, ideally. If I had gas back here, it would be really good, but how to play disco? How to play disco disco. Wait, disco ball. Oh my fucking god! It went some random area, man. They did 2k damage? No fucking way, man. Are you serious? And you put Nami in over one of these stupid ass units. It's okay. Where did my carry go? I rolled. What the fuck, man? Okay, this is getting sold. I think Guardian's the shittiest thing. I'm not putting that shit in. How many do I have left? 9 more times, no problem. Down there. Holy shit, I thought this was not gonna happen, but it happened. This to go.
Careful, this pack's a wallop.
Oh, this fucking was okay. Do this then. Oh, I fucked up. I fucked up a little bit. I think it's this for sure. Damn, I cannot win with this board. Why does Lux do more damage than my fucking what? My TF? What is other enemy? Another true damage spat. Ain't no fucking way, man. Alright, this guy's won the game so hard, he's just fucking just started AFKing, man. I don't even think he picked up his orbs. I didn't move these two, right? This is everywhere in my comp. My front line's already dead. Like what? Oh, this. Wait. Hold up a sec. Huh. This unit and this. Wait a second. Okay, let me switch these so I can actually play the game. Who the fuck is the third Spellweaver? Wait, what? Am I stupid? Oh, it's Lulu. Oh shit, Lulu's a spell. Oh wait, it's all Gucci. Let's go. TF? Is that 3-star? It's not. Oh, it's not 3-star. I just fucking lost. Yeah, I'm gonna roll down for. I think I just need 2-star frontline. I'm missing Zach and I'm missing the other one. I mean, I'm top 3, which is pretty fucking good, given that I'm playing against some of these comps are kind of silly. Okay, I mean, this is it. This is the board. It looks good, right? And then if you can get to hyper, I mean, it's mainly, you might be able to switch out something if you get the Sona as well. But aside from that, this is the board. It looks good. It looks solid. I think this Ziggs hard carries this board though. The infusion plus Ziggs is like crazy actually. Hoping for shift here. I did not get shift. Awkward. There should be more front line here actually. Okay. I mean, this is the best I'm getting, you know. Do we win, right? I mean, like this guy left the game. Yeah, he just DC'd after he knew. He has been DC'd for like multiple stages. He's still top 2? Like, there's no... okay. I mean, let me go reread this. Throw 22 cards divided between attack speed. Between 3, they reduce MR by 1 and deal 100. The headliner throws 3 additional cards. The headliner is terrible. Wait, this is one of the worst headliners in the game. You're telling me I throw 3 more cards? It's 10%? No, sorry, like 15% more damage. I don't know, man. That headliner fucking blows. It might be getting disco value. I mean, this guy just has 7 pentakill. There's 10 pentakill? Yeah, I just need a front line, right? He is looking... What are you looking for? For Viego. Wow, he plays that guy. The blitz was really interesting. I mean, this comp is really interesting. Wait, the TF kind of slapping, you know? I should have, whatever. What is this? What is this? My ghost. So he gets 2 opportunities. What does Karthus do? Oh wow. These items suck ass. This item sucks ass for this. That's fine. Okay. We're at 23. $27. This headliner sucks, man. Mordekaiser. Oh, he's one off more 3. Fuck it, you can just hit it. I don't even care. You know what? You roll for it. Oh, sell this shit and roll for it, man. We're on our last game. Okay, Disco. You got me? TF? Do I win? No way. What's my blitz damage? It does 3k with tank items? What? 860 shield at base? 700% AP. What? What? There's no, that ratio is so high, so ridiculously high. What? Wait, I'm just gonna put a fucking death cap on my blitz. Whatever, man. I'm playing against a guy who's AFK. So only see if I can get zigs. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously he's a super good crown user. But how much does death cap even give? 60. What's 60 times 700? 0035? Is my math wrong? $420, huh? Yeah, crown seems so good. Disco was sick. It was really nice. I mean, obviously I got TF, but realistically, like, I think Disco Blitz is better than TF. The headliner didn't seem that good. It's more like I hit Ziggs at 8, which was the big deal. The Hyper Pop actually with Infusion hard carried. I think Infusion means you just gotta play Hyper Pop. The whole time, hold on. I'm gonna go pee. I'll be right back. I'll play some ads. Hopefully it doesn't not pop. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, I think if Yasuo just gets nerfed to 1% or like 1.1, I don't think he's that good. But then again, I feel like if you get fast A with it, it's probably pretty bad. Maybe it's probably just needs to be a 1%. And it's fine. Dude, honestly, I don't know if I want to play another. I'm not feeling too good. I'm gonna go make food and call it. I said I was gonna play another when I got back, but I have had really ultra giga terrible sleep. Like for like 6 days straight. I'm not even kidding. I'll be back tomorrow streaming. Super bad, giga bad sleep.
I mean, I would
Let me go ahead and host Ray, guys. I'm out. Have a great night.